What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, then just welcome to my channel. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button because you won't be disappointed. As you can tell by the title of this video, this is going to be a little storytelling. Get ready with me on this here look. So if you want to hear this story about little old Angela Stoldt, who killed, dismembered, and cooked her good old neighbor friends, all while, you know, seeing me achieve this makeup look, then just keep on watching. All right, today's story, boys and girls, is going to be about Angela Stoldt, who killed, dismembered, and then cooked her neighbor. Angela Stoldt grew up a military brat. She was actually born in Thailand. She had one sister. Her family, of course, traveled a lot. Being, you know, military family, that's what they do. Now, because of this, or maybe because she was always a little crazy, Angela struggled to make friends. She really just had a hard time socially developing. In her teenage years, her dad left the military. I think she was about, I don't know. She was in her teens. He retired from the military and they settled down in Deltona, Florida, which I ain't never heard of. I heard of Daytona, Florida, but not Deltona. It was in Deltona that she met her first husband, which was 3 years older than her at the time. She was about 14 then. She married him quickly, dropped out of 9th grade, and moved in with him. And from what her family says, it was a very volatile relationship. So after a few years, they actually divorced. And then at 20, she married another man and had her first child. But that didn't work either because at 23, they divorced. And because she had dropped out of school so young, she didn't have any, you know, any credentials to get herself a job and some real income. She felt like she needed to find a man ASAP pronto to support her. So at 25, she married again. And they had a daughter together. Now, she allegedly really enjoyed being a mother to her 2 daughters. Oh, no. Her first child was a boy. So this was their daughter. She enjoyed being a mother to both her children. She just wanted to be a good old housewife. She didn't want to go out there, make her own money. She wanted to be supported by her man and take care of their kids. That was the dream. And this foundation is the nightmare. Her and her newest husband pack up and they move to this new neighborhood, and she decides that she is tired of being a friendless bored biatch. So she makes an effort to go out and meet some of the neighbors and establish some friendships. And she meets a guy by the name of James Schaefer, who lived directly across the street from her. James Schaefer was a limo driver from Philadelphia. From Philly, and was Philadelphia born and raised on the playground as far as being. James was well respected in his work and had been in a 17-year relationship with his girlfriend. 17 years? You got a good 3 years to marry me. I'll be damned. 17-year-old girlfriend. I mean, 17-year girlfriend. I'm not doing that. They had 3 children together. Ain't doing that either. But you know, I ain't here to judge. It's these people's life. It has nothing to do with me. His girlfriend had another child from a previous relationship that he was raising as his own. And like I said, their children were around the same ages and they lived directly across the street from each other. So his children often played with hers. And Angela herself was a night owl. So she was up late at night, and he often got off work late, so they spent a lot of time together chilling over at her house, drinking beers, you know, little friendship stuff. Their relationship was strictly platonic, but they really became good, close friends. Now, mind you, little Angela has a whole husband in the house. And so around the time that her and James became really close, her relationship or her marriage began to crumble to old boy, and he decided one day that he had enough, was done, and he wanted out. According to her family, he had also become very violent towards her, and one day he packs up his belongings and leaves. Nobody ever hears from him again. Nobody ever sees him again. And they say that Angela was very, very happy about this because of course, he had become violent and she just was not with it. She just wasn't with the shits. So she was happy to see him go, but unfortunately for her, she was not in the situation where she could financially care for herself and her children. So that was the only downside to homeboy up and leaving. She's now 39, so this was 14 years after they married. Angela had a condition called hyperthyroidism, and she was able to receive some social security benefits for that. But it wasn't enough, so she would reach out to her family often to ask them for financial help. And when that wasn't enough, James, being a good old friend, you know, her good old bestie, decided to employ her as his bookkeeper to help her bring in some income. And that was he was paying her only like $100 a month. Then in April 2013, James mysteriously vanishes. He leaves for work and he never returns home. He had picked up a group of people to take them to Tampa, Florida, bring them back, and then he pretty much vanished. Of course, the first person that, you know, investigators look at is the spouse. They question the girlfriend, and she said she had not heard from him, but she did receive one very unusual text that read, I don't know when you're gonna see me, and then that was it. She responds, he does not answer. So she's just like, maybe he's working late. I don't know what that means exactly, but she didn't trip. While conducting their investigation with the family and now the neighbors, they find out that Miss Angela is the payee listed on his Social Security that he was receiving. He was receiving $1,200 a month, and because him nor his girlfriend had a bank account, little Angela, being the sweet, nice neighbor that she was, allowed him to have the check sent to her account, which they used as a joint account between him and her. And then, of course, he could access the money himself because he was also on the account. So she was handling his bookkeeping, his finances from his taxi limo business, and also receiving his checks from Social Security, all for a small fee of $100 a month. She says she had no idea where he was, and she hadn't seen him in a few days. She also clued investigators in on James' apparent financial ruin because she said that he had apparently owed a lot of people money, was in a lot of debt, was in danger of being evicted, had a gambling addiction, and wrote a lot of bad checks out of their joint account where she would have to cover overdraft fees or like bounce check fees very often. Which, if that was the case, I don't understand why she would keep the account open, because if you did that to me, honey, I would close that account so fast and you would just have to figure it out. On the contrary, his girlfriend didn't seem to know anything about his massive debts or gambling issues, but his friends were able to confirm that something was going on with people that he owed, because he had texted them saying that he was going on the run, alluding to people following him, looking for him, and that he needed to slip off the radar for a little while because it was not safe for him to be around at the moment. I should not have poured wine. I should be drinking water. Law enforcement attempted to track his phone, but they were not successful in doing so. So they couldn't pinpoint like a location where he might be using this good old phone that he was texting everyone from. They continued to look for him and find nothing. So a couple days later, after his disappearance, they returned to little old Angela to see, if she had heard anything from him, or to see if she was hiding him out, because of course they were friends. So it's kind of like, if you're on the run and that's your homie, maybe you're giving him a place to stay, because that's what friends are for, right? She did not hearing anything from him. She did not knowing anything about his whereabouts, but she did show them another text she had received since they last spoke to her, saying he was on the run, saying he was being chased by people. That's like all she had received from him. She also allowed the police to do a walkthrough of her home to show, that he wasn't in a cabinet or a closet anywhere. And there was no sign of James. Just a very messy home. Like, apparently it was so bad that one of the detectives said that it was the worst home that he had ever seen. Quote, dirty and filthy, trash everywhere. And even though they didn't find anything, they decided to still bring her to the station for a formal interview, to which she complied, citing she had nothing to hide and that she wanted to be helpful to find her good friend, James. As soon as they began the questioning, she changes her story, saying that initially, yeah, I told you that I hadn't seen him, and then it went from that to, okay, yeah, I have seen him since he disappeared. She said the day that he went missing, they had met up at a bank so he could give her $150 that he'd overdrafted their account. She said someone had driven James there and she did not recognize the driver, nor did she ask who he was. She said that later that same night, after the police had come by and initially questioned the neighborhood, he stopped by asking her for more money. Again, someone she didn't recognize was with him. She let him know that the police were, in fact, looking for him. And he said that these dangerous people were the ones looking for him and that they were using the police to look for him. And so he wasn't trying to hear that shit. He just needed this money pronto. Are you gonna help or what? And she said after that night, he stopped texting her. She received no more texts from James, I guess in fear that she was in cahoots with the police and these people who were chasing him for this money. And that was her statement she gave. She said she had not heard from him again. She was able to go home, and that was it. So now we're 2.5 weeks after his disappearance on April 3rd. And Angela's sister makes a phone call to 911 claiming that her sister was threatening to kill herself. She was very unstable emotionally and mentally, and that they needed someone to come out to the home ASAP. So that is why her sister called them, and when they arrived, Angela was extremely disheveled. She said that she wanted to talk to investigators about the James disappearance case. She was very upset and very obviously going through an emotional crisis. She began yelling at the police, "You should have stopped me. You could have ended it before this point. You guys could have stopped me before now." And so when they read her Miranda rights, she switches up like immediately and asks for a lawyer before she talks to them. She no longer wanted to talk to the police. She was then taken to a mental health facility and admitted there. And within hours of being admitted, she changes it up again and says she does want to talk to police without a lawyer. She admitted that on the night that he disappeared, she picked him up after work around 3 a.m. and he asked her to ask her dying father for $4K. And said that he really needed it really bad. He wouldn't be asking her for it if he didn't need it. She said she had no intention of asking her father and was fed up with James and his lies and his need for money, him overdrafting their account and forcing her to pay fees. And at that point, she was just fed up with his lies and bullshit. They go back to her place. They have drinks. She served him a cocktail of vodka and peach schnapps laced with her father's muscle relaxers. And then around 5 a.m., she told him to get into the car because she was going to take him to her dad's house to ask him for the money. He gets in with no hesitation, and instead she drives him to the edge of town to a cemetery and parks the car and tells him that, psych, the loan ain't happening. She said he had lied to her so many times that she just wanted to lie to his face and see, so he can see how it feels and just see how he reacts. But she did not expect for him to react so hostile. She told him, "My dad's not going to give you any money. I'm not going to give you any more money." She told him she was not going to allow him to have his checks deposited into her account, that everything was pretty much over. And she's just upset. She's yelling at him, telling him all this. And then he becomes upset and begins to yell at her. He mad. He didn't get no money. It quickly goes from her yelling at him to him yelling at her and getting all in her face. And she claims that in the midst of him yelling, he tells her that he's going to kill her. She says she took that threat very seriously, and fear took over. So she grabbed the closest thing to her, which was an ice pick, and stabbed him in the eye. She did not know how deep it was, but she said to investigators that she didn't think it was that deep because he continued to like come at her, screaming and saying, you know, God damn it, I trusted you. Do you not care that my family is going to be out in the street? My children won't have a home. How he needed that money because they're about to be kicked out and otherwise they would be homeless. She then tells investigators that she grabbed the next thing that she saw that just so happened to be lying around was a piece of rope, and she proceeded to strangle him. Now, I don't know. My thing is this. Not saying, you know, that all women are weaker than men and, you know, a woman can't physically overpower a man. But, girl, when it's a fight or flight, like, if your life is dependent on it, I would think a man would definitely have the upper hands, because homegirl was a very thin woman. After strangling him, he goes unconscious, and then she stabs him in the other eye with the ice pick and realizes, oh shit, now I have to get rid of this body. So she puts him in the car, takes him home, and her plan is to put him in the oven and like burn him to ash. That's what she attempts to do. She takes him home, she chops his body up with a hacksaw, and piece by piece places him in the oven and attempts to burn his body, but she was unsuccessful because of course it don't work like that. She tells reporters that she, quote, had difficulty and realized she needed to try something else. Then she tells them that had they come into her house the first day, they would have seen his head in a pot on the stove. And even if they took a few steps closer to her house, like into her yard or porch, they would have smelled him cooking in the oven and on the stove. She told them her daughter had been complaining about the smell, and she just told her that it was a rat broiling in the oven. Like, girl, why would a rat anyway be broiling in your oven? Why would that be a thing? So when she realized that she was not going to be able to like burn him to ashes, she put his body parts in a trash bag and told her son that she'd hit a deer and asked him to take it out to a dump site to get rid of it. Meanwhile, she takes James' phone and she sends these texts to his friends to make it seem like he was on the run, which explains why his friends were able to like confirm her claim that he was in all this debt and running from people, because they were like, oh yeah, he did text me and said he was gonna be out of here too. So she sent those texts off, sent some to herself, of course. At this point, they have her take them to the site where she had her son dump the body. The trash bags are all ripped open from animals, like trying to get at the grilled remains or baked remains of James. And so they were able to retrieve some of his body, but not nearly all of it. At trial, Angela's own sister was like the most damning piece of evidence, aside from her confession, because she did try to get off on, what is it called when you claim to be crazy? Insanity. She put in an insanity plea. She claimed that 2 weeks after James had disappeared, her sister Angela had assembled the entire family and confessed to them about what she had done to James. She claimed that she sedated James, and when he was completely out, she strangled him, put the ice pick into his eyes afterward to ensure that he was dead. And after he was dead, she chopped his head off, put it in plastic wrap that she had purchased from Walmart, kept some other pieces, and then the pieces that she did not want to keep, she had her son discard. The medical examiner on the case testified that among some of the things recovered from from her house of his body were a soup pot containing his thigh, his kneecap, and other soft tissue that was, I guess, not able to be identified. Just random pieces of meat. Wait, earlier I said she tried to do an insanity plea. It wasn't. It was self-defense. Self-defense was the defense's strategy. And they were trying to show that she acted in self-defense and that her confession to her family was useless as she was admitted into a psychiatric facility only hours later. Like, she clearly was not right in the head. The defense was heavily depending on little old Angela's testimony, and that, my friends, didn't go so well. Because you see, Angela got on the stand talking cray-cray. When the prosecutors said to her she was out there telling police that she did not know where James was, knowing full well he was in her home cooking on her stove, she replied, "Oh no, I wasn't cooking him. I had turned the stove off." That girl wit. Maybe she was trying to, I don't know. Because if she did do like the insanity plea, I mean, I would say, you know, maybe she's trying to just look crazy. So they'd be like, oh yeah, this girl is insane. But she didn't. She did self-defense. So it would make no sense for her to be saying things like this on the stand. She also spoke in depth about how the head wouldn't fit in the pot with the ice pick in the eye still, and that she had to remove it, remove the head from the pot, remove the ice pick from the eye, and then carefully like fit it into the pot to boil it, because it was a struggle to do so otherwise. Homegirl is sick. And then the fact that you use your own kids to help you, like, you did this while your kids were in the house, and then you used your son. How sick do you have to be? The jury only deliberated for 3 hours, and on December 5th, 2014, sentenced her to life in prison. She was 42 at the time. And what's crazy is, after it was all said and done, investigators said that they actually had no idea that Angela had anything to do with it. They had no leads on his disappearance. No nothing. They didn't even have any suspicions that Angela had anything to do with James's disappearance until she told them about her killing and dismembering him. So she definitely would have gotten away with it if it weren't for her own big ass mouth. James's head was never found. I think she ate it personally. I just personally believe homegirl devoured his head like a praying mantis, okay? You can't put it past her. I also believe that she had something to do with that disappearance of that third husband. I don't think he disappeared. I think homegirl got rid of him. But that has never been proven. She's never been, you know, charged with none of that. No harm, no wrongdoing in regards to the disappearance of her third husband. So we don't know. I'm just assuming and speculating, okay? Being messy. Moral of the story is, don't trust a bitch named Angela, okay? That is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up before you go. Share, comment, subscribe if you have not. And I will see you in the next one. Peace.